r/askreddit, what eventually disappeared and no one noticed. Movies has been going strong for quite some time. Fireflies aka lightning bugs. I live rural and I used to see hundreds on a warm summer night. Now I get excited if I see just one. I mentioned it to other people who live in the same area as I do and they were just like, huh? Yeah. You're right. Same with grasshoppers. Caught so many every summer as a kid. Haven't seen one in decades. Shame in politics. Politicians used to resign in disgrace if caught taking bribes. They ended presidential races when mistakenly becoming overenthusiastic. Someone answering the phone at businesses. I have to call doctors' offices daily for work, and there is one that has a, I timed it, nearly 4-minute long opening message. It includes, hours, address, with directions, COVID policy and new patient policy. You have to listen to the whole thing before it lets you hit the extension you want. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. TV bumpers. There used to be a little sequence between the show and commercials. Some of them were really interesting and creative. I think my generation remembers the wand IDs on the Disney Channel, where a Disney celeb would use a wand to make the logo. There were also bumpers that were PSAs or other actual content. Edit, yes, I watched that documentary on YouTube. It's amazing. Everyone go to Defunctland's channel and watch the one on the Disney Channel jingle. Just trust me. Don't look up spoilers. After these messages. We'll be right back. Reddit live streams. Remember that guy with the guitar in your feed? He's gone long time ago but you didn't even notice it. 3D television. I remember that. Guy was always on LOL. I also remember a very, very sweaty drummer. I miss the guy that used to go out to pick up garbage. I never see swarms of monarch butterflies anymore. Feel their mighty sting. Girls Gone Wild. Or maybe it's just because I don't really watch Comedy Central anymore. Apparently the girls have settled down. My 20-year co-worker showed up to work, retail, wearing a GGW shirt because she didn't know what it was and thought it was like a girls just wanna have fun sentiment. Actually, if I recall correctly, the founder got into some serious legal trouble because of GGW. I like to play the tape backwards, that way it looks like the girls have learned their lesson. Dave Attell. Just gives you a headache. Fidget spinners. Go to any 7-Eleven or random gas station along an interstate, they still have them tucked into the lonely corner where they keep random things like kids' toys and cheap cell phone chargers. There are just better fidget toys around now. Oh, they're still out there, secretly being used just off camera during every Zoom meeting attended by myself and everybody else out there with adult ADHD. Helps so much in keeping my mind from wandering off. A common pop culture, in the US, at least. Until at least the 80s, most people watched the same TV show, saw the same movies, listened to the same music, could recite the same commercial slogans or jingles, bought into the same fads. I don't know when it happened, but now we are all siloed into highly specific subcultures. It was definitely the rise of the internet that really started to divide not just us in the US but all over into subcultures. Or at the very least when it became very noticeable that it happened/started happening. Plasma TVs. I had one and it died after we all watched an intervention marathon during COVID. TV repair shops, now that you mention it. It used to be a guy behind a counter with electronic guts all over the place. He'd give you a ticket and you had to listen to the radio for a week or two. The authorized repairer for my electric mower is one of those old TV repairs guys. He has a mini industrial unit full of TVs and DVD players and stereos. Dinosaurs. Didn't even make the news. At least they had reruns like 65 million years later. It's been replaced by VR. Watching movies in 3D on those things is awesome. Tayo Cruz. I had his CD because my first car's previous owner left it in the CD player. When I sold the car I also left it in the player. Thanks for sparking a memory, smiley face. Corporate pensions. 30 years ago, it was a standard benefit. 401ks turned out to be an excuse for corporations to junk pensions. I'm glad I have a 401k and not a corporate pension. I can leave a shitty employer without losing my retirement. Also, if I get fired I still have my retirement. People fainting when something unexpected happens. And people carrying smelling salts for just such an occasion. It's so 19th century. I have a condition that makes me pass out when I get startled, or tired or just my brain feels like it, so I wish this one would disappear. Those rubber bands shaped like things that you wore on your wrists. Phone books. The foil wrapper on chocolate bars. Stupid curved televisions. I wouldn't say it went away silently. They kinda never took off in the first place. But the curved monitors are a status symbol in the office, only the management has them. I had a 55 Samsung Curve that lasted almost 10 years. The backlight glass finally cracked, so I sold it for parts. I loved that TV. It served me well. I just bought a LG C2 about a month ago to replace it though, and I gotta say the Samsung was shit comparatively. I'm living in the future now. Payphones still exist. Multiple free-to-use ones here in Australia. Blimps. Helium is expensive and drones can do some of their missions. Hear me out, hydrogen. I hear it's the wave of the future. KONY 2012. Didn't just disappear, dude in charge famously had a mental breakdown. This disappeared so not quietly, they dedicated an entire music sequence to it in an episode of South Park. Having a work holiday around Easter. My favorite illegal streaming websites. Slugterra. What the fuck happened to that show? I love it. Then suddenly it just disappears off the face of the earth. OMG, that show is like if Pokemon and Star Wars, the Clone Wars had a baby. Butterflies. And GT, monarch populations have declined by more than 70% in the eastern US and by 99.9% in the western US. Biological Conservation reported that 40% of all insect species are declining globally and that a third of them are endangered. Attention spans. The question is a paradox. If even one person notices and posts about it, the waveform collapses as it is noticed by other posters. I guess Game of Thrones is dead. Nobody talks about it at all anymore. I've never watched it, but all I heard was got this, got that until the final season. Yet to this day people still love and adore shows like Breaking Bad and Friends, The Sopranos, etc. Was got that disappointing? The last few seasons left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Hard to look back on it fondly like the rest you listed. Clubhouse. That Ghislaine Maxwell case. It's actually so insane to me that everyone was screaming save the children and then eventually no one cared anymore. I miss you, Kiss Anime. It didn't go away, it ended. She got convicted and sent to prison for 20 years for multiple counts of sex trafficking of a minor. There is a new trial related to her perjury in the Epstein case that will only add on to the time. Pogs. An ALF, but luckily he is back in Pog form. Chuck Norris, last I hear of him he had infected COVID. I think it's because we've had to come to terms with the fact that he's an old man, 83, to be exact. All the classic Chuck Norris memes are even more of a stretch now than they were before. It's also been a long time since his work was mainstream. Hell, I'm almost 40, most of it was before my time. Audio cassette tape pulled out and tangled in the shrubs of a strip mall. It was the gold standard parking lot decoration of the 90s. Having many family photographs in homes. Not completely gone, but homes used to be plastered in them. The only times I really notice them is in homes of older people. Strangely enough. Worms on sidewalks. Actually, it rained by me this past weekend and there were a ton of worms on the sidewalk, and that's when I realized I hadn't seen that happen in a long time. Didn't realize it had been so long until I saw them again. Depending on where you are, this can be a good thing. In the eastern US there is an invasive earthworm problem, link. Just Google online movies 2023 but replace movies with its translation in another language, preferably Eastern European. Oh, and make sure you have an ad blocker. Cheese nips. I'm so upset. I love them more than Cheez-Its. They come in cheese flavor. Smoking areas in restaurants. I was a 90s kid and have vivid memories of going to Fridge's Big Boy among other places, and the waiter asking my dad if he wanted smoking or non-smoking. Being an asthmatic child, I'm surprised I survived. Fast forward to today and I can't even imagine any food establishment letting people smoke in the dining area. Oh, I definitely noticed. I was cheering the day Michigan outlawed indoor public smoking. Choco tacos, sad face. I'm pretty sure everyone noticed that one. One goes and 300 more pop out. Just Google Reddit streaming sites or go to r/piracy.